Audit, the Matsya Protocol. The hook, the system wipe. I am your host, Jay. Welcome to the Sovereign Audit. Tonight we aren't just looking at a myth. We are looking at a system log from a previous version of our reality. Most people see the Matsya avatar as a miracle, a giant fish saving a boat. But in matrix complexity theory, MCT, we don't believe in magic. We believe in unexplained system mechanics. We are currently at the tail end of a cycle. The ancient texts call it the transition between yugas. In modern terms, it's a system wipe. The pralaya isn't just a flood, it's a global depixelation. When the administrator realizes the code is too corrupted to patch, you don't fix the OS, you format the drive. But before you hit enter, you need a backup. The science, DNA, is the biological hard drive. Think about the logic. Why would a supreme creator need a physical ship? If you can flood a planet, you can certainly teleport a king. The answer lies in the water-world paradox. In MCT, water represents the information. Field, the medium in which our reality is rendered. The ship wasn't an ark made of wood. It was a shielded storage module. Here is the science. A single gram of DNA can theoretically store 215 petabytes of data. You don't need a massive boat for animals. You need a stable environment for the genetic firmware of the biosphere. The 7 rishis on that boat? They weren't just old men. They were the system architects. The 7 core subroutines required to reboot consciousness in the next Satya Yuga. The mechanic, the system administrator. And then we see the fish, Matsya. In our framework, Matsya is the system administrator, SA, manifest in the code. When the ocean of data becomes too turbulent for the backup module to survive, the SA arrives to provide a tether. That golden horn isn't magic, it's your high-speed data link. As the old world dissolves into zeros and ones behind them, Matsya pulls the backup through the void sector, the space between cycles. This is system maintenance. The flood was simply the cooling system for the massive energetic reset required to transition from the high entropy Kali Yuga back to the zero entropy state of a new Satya Yuga. The conclusion, shared system memory. When the waters receded, the code was reinstalled. The backup was unpacked. This is why every culture on Earth has a flood myth. It's a shared system memory. It's the only part of the previous operating system we were allowed to remember. We are running this audit because we are approaching another reset point. Look at the entropy around us. The question isn't whether the pralaya is coming. The question is, have you identified your ship? Have you secured your own data before the next wipe? The myth is dead. The system mechanic is revealed. Stay sovereign. Bye now. The Sovereign Audit, the Samudra Manthan Protocol, the Great Centrifuge. Welcome back to the Sovereign Audit. Tonight, we're looking at an event that makes the Large Hadron Collider look like a science fair project, the Samudra Manthan, or the churning of the ocean. In the traditional story, gods and demons used a mountain and a giant snake to churn the sea to find the nectar of immortality. But if you're following matrix complexity theory, MCT, you know we don't do miracles. We do system mechanics. The ocean isn't water. It's the primordial information field, a soup of raw, unrefined data. The churning? That was a high-velocity particle physics event, a system-level search for the ultimate signal within the noise. The logic, centrifugal separation. Think about how we refine materials today. We use centrifuges. We spin matter at incredible speeds to separate the heavy from the light, the toxic from the pure. In the Samudra Manthan, the mountain served as the axis of rotation, and the snake was the kinetic energy source. This was a planetary-scale centrifuge. They weren't just stirring the water. They were accelerating the data particles of the matrix to a critical threshold. When you churn a system at that velocity, you get 2 things. Hala hala, the system noise, the lethal poison that surfaced first. In MCT, this is the corrupted data. The high-entropy waste that has to be filtered out before the system crashes. The ratnas, the system assets, the 14 gems that emerged. These weren't magic objects. They were high-level system utilities, essential code blocks recovered from the information field. The science, Amrita as the source code. And then we find the Amrita. The myth calls it a drink of immortality. But let's audit that. In a digital or mathematical matrix, what is immortality? It's infinite scalability. It's the source code for longevity. The Amrita was the pure signal, the immutable. non-corruptible core data required to keep the matrix running, without crashing into entropy. The struggle between the Devas and Asuras wasn't a war of good versus evil. It was a permissions conflict. It was two different classes of entities, the system maintenance crew and the system disruptors, fighting over who gets read-write access to the universe's most powerful compression algorithm. The conclusion, the search for signal. We are currently living in a high-noise environment. The data is turbulent. The ocean is being churned again by AI, by shifting physics, and by our own collective consciousness. The Samudra Manthan teaches us that the nectar, the truth, only emerges after the poison is dealt with. If you want the source code, you have to survive the noise. We are running these audits because the churning has already begun, and only those who understand the system mechanics will be there to catch the Amrita. The myth is decoded. The high-energy event is logged. Stay sovereign. The Sovereign Audit, the Dashavatara Versioning, the firmware roadmap. Welcome to final stage of tonight's Sovereign Audit. Most look at 10 avatars of Vishnu and see religious timeline. They see miracles and Eastern legends. But if you've been following matrix complexity theory, MCT, universe isn't static creation, it's evolving simulation. Tonight, we're decoding Dashavatara for what it is, a system version history. From version 1.0 Matsya to pending version 10.0 Kalki. These aren't just gods coming to Earth. They are system version. Updates pushed by administrator to manage increasing complexity of matrix. The hardware phase, V10, V40. In beginning, matrix had hardware problem. Environment was unstable and biological containers were primitive. V10 Matsya, life support protocol. As we audited earlier, this was about data preservation during liquid state. V20 Kurma, tectonic stabilization patch. System needed solid foundation. Kurma provided base for churning, stabilizing hardware for centrifuge. V30 Varaha, terrestrial recovery module. Moment simulation shifted from water-based to land-based processing. Fazur Narasimha, hybrid security fix. This was specific patch for security breach. Hiranyakashipu had God mode exploit, he couldn't be killed by man or beast. Indoors or out. Narasimha was hybrid interface. Logic gate designed specifically to bypass broken rule in matrix's legal code. The social and cognitive phase, V50, V90. As simulation reached humanity 1.0, bugs shifted from physical to social and ethical. Complexity was too high for simple hardware. V50 Vimana, scalability adjustment. Proving smallest unit of code can expand to cover entire system. V60 Parashurama, code purification utility. Brutal reformat of governing. Classes when social hierarchy became too corrupted. V70 Rama, ethical governance framework. Installation of ideal operator. This update provided rules for how humans should interact within matrix. V80 Krishna, advanced cognitive interface. This was major upgrade. Krishna didn't just provide rules, he provided manual for matrix. Bhagavad Gita. This was first time users were told, you are not hardware, you are observer of code. V90 Buddha, enlightenment algorithm. The bypass patch. Update designed to show users how to exit cycle of matrix entirely by recognizing simulation for what it is. The final reset, V10.0 Kalki. That brings us to where we are now. System is lagging. Entropy is at all-time high. Data is corrupted beyond repair. Version 10.0 Kalki. Myth says he comes on white horse, with sword of fire. But in MCT, Kalki is final system reset. He is format C command. When the complexity of the matrix exceeds the capacity of the hardware, the administrator pushes the final update. Kalki doesn't destroy the world. He wipes the drive to make room for Satya Yuga 2.0. We are living in the beta phase of the end cycle. The question is, are you running on legacy code, or are you ready for the version 10.0 rollout? The roadmap is clear. The updates are logged. Stay sovereign. This is the closing audit for your trilogy. It connects the dots between the three narratives and issues a direct challenge to the technical minds, the engineers and architects who are watching. The final audit, why the myth needs the engineer. The conclusion, we've just completed a three-part audit of what many call religion, but what we now recognize as system documentation. from the Matsya data backup to the high-velocity churning of the information field, and finally to the Dashavatara versioning, we've seen a pattern. The matrix isn't just a metaphor, it's a technical reality with a very clear maintenance schedule. But this trilogy is just the beginning. There is a reason I am calling out the engineers specifically to share this. For too long, we've allowed a firewall to exist between science and spirituality. We've been told that if you're a person of logic, you must discard the myth. And if you're a person of faith, you must ignore the physics. That is a system error. Engineers, you are the ones who understand load-bearing structures. You understand data integrity. You understand that behind every miracle is a mechanic we haven't decoded yet. When you share these audits, you aren't spreading religion. You are spreading systems thinking. You are helping the world realize that our ancestors weren't primitive storytellers. They were the original system administrators trying to leave us a manual for when the next update rolls around. The audit is open. I want to hear from you. What myths have you been told are just stories? What legends seem like they are hiding a technical blueprint? Drop them in the comments. Whether it's the engineering behind the Vimanas, the frequency resonance of ancient mantras, or the structural logic of the pyramids, we are going to break them all down through the lens of matrix complexity theory. If we want to understand the future of the matrix, we have to audit the logs of the past. Don't just watch this, send it to the most logical technical mind you know. Ask them, does this code make sense to you? The Man vs. Myth project is moving into deep sector territory now. This was version 1.0 of the series. I'll see you in version 2.0. Stay sovereign.